right, 51 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 9,661 miles on the odometer. It's Friday, February 14th, 2025. Welcome to the Please Subscribe show. And we've finally got there, 80 more subscribers, and we'll officially be able to monetize. So if you know 80 people, then let me know about it, or just hit subscribe. And we will be eligible for monetization as long as we get playback time. And what I plan to do, I do have plans for this channel, okay? My plans from this channel from the very beginning is to go into cinema, okay? So what you're watching is you're watching a 50-year-old pre-stages of a filmmaker. And so I also write. So I am writing a novel. So I did post chapter 54. So I think that novelists can be filmmakers. Paul Auster proved that to us. There's the butterfly. Paul Auster proved that he can both be a novelist and a filmmaker. Now, Quentin Tarantino would say he would say probably the opposite, but Paul Auster's stuff's better than all his stuff anyway. Smoke, which was with Harvey Keitel, and Blue in the Face, I consider both those films better than anything Quentin Tarantino has created. But Quentin Tarantino is the voice of Hollywood filmmaking, you know, we all have to listen to it every day. And that's fine, we can do that. And he's pissed off about the streaming and stuff. Well, he's also pissed off about 35mm, which doesn't even make a difference. If you're trying to tell a story and you have to use video, who cares? Who cares if you have to use video or film? If you have the luxury, which really Quentin Tarantino's name is Luxury, okay? There is going to be a new character in the novel that's going to be called Clinton Snaracino. And he's a Hollywood filmmaker that's captured by the RIB, the Revolutionary Independent Branch. And he's captured, and he's basically held he's held against his will. And when he's captured, he is asked for the whereabouts of the Lone Star Hacker. So the only way they get to the Lone Star Hacker is, since you know that the Dwarf's character is actually in LA. And he finds out a way to discover the Lone Star Hacker, which we're assuming the Lone Star Hacker is most likely in Texas. The only one that knows him that they can find out about is a filmmaker that shot his mouth off in an interview. Now I've got to create this scene eventually. But he blabs his mouth off in an interview. He knows some information that only someone that would know something about the dark web, right? Or someone that would understand, you know, like the Lone Star Hacker. So he gives out a clue, and the dwarf finds out about it. So the dwarf goes in with his Jed. Now Jed is like, you know, he's a bad A. He's like a modern day 007. You know, he's all self-taught. He has no military ties. No one in the RIB, the Revolutionary Independent Branch, has any military ties at all. They can't. It doesn't work. They cannot be a part of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. But they capture this filmmaker. It's kind of Godfather a little bit. And they capture this filmmaker named Clinton Snaracino. Right? He's like this know-it-all filmmaker that knows about the whereabouts of the Lone Star Hacker. That's a new scene I'm going to be working on eventually, to working up to. I came up with that today. And then also I did post chapter 54. Enjoy reading. All right, 2.4, it's 8 minutes. We will arrive at 5:17. All right, guys, so in this scene, which I posted yesterday, if you keep up with my Facebook, and you should be able to find my Facebook on the descriptions of my channel. I have got a lot of feedback recently from Fiction Press fans. Unfortunately, I'm no longer going through Fiction Press. I have what I published on Fiction Press. I will publish the entire book on Fiction Press, but I'm not going to keep up with all the little comments and things for other stories and stuff. I got a lot of ideas of people wanting to animate, people that wanting to draw or something like that. The Mid-City Boulevard Squirrels, which I did write, I would talk to an artist maybe about someone illustrating that. I do like that book, and he was very professional sounding person. Unfortunately, this is the only way I'm going to be able to respond back to. So you'd have to keep up with the YouTube. Probably you'd be able to figure it out. I don't have an Ash Cole YouTube page. That's my pen name. But it's listed in the descriptions here. So you have to do a little investigative research with me to be able to get to me or to talk to me. I'm not against doing illustrations for Mid-City Boulevard squirrels, but that's a different story that I've already worked on, and that's a series of stories. It's a children's story about squirrels that I wrote, about these squirrels that go to a peanut farm and they escape a bulldozing of their current peanut farm. And they get on a train and they go. Okay, so it's a pretty good story. Timmy, one of the squirrels' name is Timmy, and then there's Johnny, and then the pregnant squirrel, the girl, and also it starts off with Nutty being splat on the road. All right, but we're talking about another story actually right now. So what I posted, listen, with me, you've got to pay attention to detail on the little things that I say, or you'll just get lost and give up. That's probably why my channel only has about 920 subscribers, which, hey, to me that's millions. Okay, what I'm talking about is rib or Dog Night Out, Shepherds of Alaska. I think I am going to leave it rib or Dog Night Out. Now, sometimes occasionally you'll see rib dash Dog Night Out dash Shepherds of Alaska. Don't have a conniption fit if you're an English major. Just don't even watch it if you're an English major. Okay, I'm more of like, I kind of side with Bukowski. I'm not like a big fan to listen to writers when their esoteric philosophy and academia go off, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Most artists are that way. Even they are that way, okay? So even if they write a hit or they write something that's good, and they know they have something that's good, and people are criticizing it even in good or bad, all right? It can be good or bad. They'll respond to it in a funny way, because good criticism can hit you hard, just like bad criticism, depending on if they're thinking the person's being snide or if the person's being condescending, which I've come off as that. Okay, Bukowski didn't like being around writers. Charles Bukowski, Hank, he despised them, and he would rather hang out with a plumber. I'm kind of not necessarily exactly the same. I don't really find plumbers interesting, but I side with a lot of the actors. I really do understand that, the actors, especially some of the famous ones, they're damned in a way because of all the fame, and it gets to their head, and they do have to communicate with the writer, and it's two different worlds trying to exist in an area that I don't know. All I know is that Sam Shepard one time hit Tommy Lee Jones, and we don't know why. Someone said something about his words, and it led to a fight. And I don't ever want anything like that. I think the way that what's his name? I'm trying to think of his name. Cormac McCarthy. He was invited on the set of No Country for Old Men, and he just kind of chilled. So that would probably be like the best thing, just because I know that world is crazy. Everybody, it's all basically from the same, it's basically, it's a Spiritus Mundi, it's all from the same Spiritus Mundi. It's all from the same energy. So like the actor writes with his body and his behavior, he writes the story with himself in a way. At least he writes it, and he also performs it and acts it. That can happen too. All right, I'm trying to get to a point about chapter 54. Yeah, so it's basically what it does is it jumps back and forth. So there's no like cut or like cut to like I started to do in the beginning of the story, which I kind of like doing a little bit. Why I did that, I probably hinted that I wanted this to be a movie, and I just switched from one dialogue sequence of the state troopers. Well, it starts with a cat, and the cat is looking out the window, and he sees the avalanche. And then it hints that there's someone upstairs sleeping, which is the little man, which is the dwarf, basically Doc Shelby. And for you that I have to use like all the names and stuff of each character and stuff, I really find that kind of boring in a novel. You don't really have to keep going back and mentioning someone's name and making sure that everyone understands. It's kind of what Bukowski says about beam, beam, beam. You know, it's bim, bim, bim. It just goes ding, 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 you know, and just go forward with it. So that happens, and then it switches to the state troopers digging, and they're digging the avalanche. The dog is kind of in the background in this. So when I go through for updates, the dog will be implanted. That'll be something new that you'll look for on an update. Now remember, when I post something, I go through a certain sequence. I first post it, it'll land on my Facebook. That's usually the first, like right after I wrote it. I copy paste, it goes right on my Facebook. Now, I may do one proofread. I mean, I'll go through it one time. And if I find this and find that, you know, I might fix it really quick, and then I get one shot of that and it goes right on my Facebook. Then what I do is I let it stew on my Facebook. Then I'll start picking it apart on my Facebook, maybe closing quotations, changing certain spellings, going back and kind of cleaning it up. Okay, so that'll be an update. So a chapter can be updated 3, 4, maybe even 5 or 6 times. And that means either stuff has been added or there's been corrections so that it's more clear. And if you like the early versions, hey, you could read an early version of the book if you just look at when it's updated. Now it'll be updated with, and I will go through the time. So it'll be the date, the day, right? So it'll say the day, or it'll say the date, and it'll say the time of the update. But the time of the update and the actual date will be on there. So you'll know that that's the most current one that I've proofread and then I've, you know, posted. Then eventually it goes into 3 different places. It goes back to my notes in its corrected form from Facebook, and then it goes back to my laptop. So that way, I have probably like 3 different versions of it. I have like a Facebook version, which should be almost exactly as the notes version on the phone. That's what I didn't mention. On the smartphone, there's notes. That can be airdropped if I wanted to on the laptop, but I don't really do that a whole lot because I'm kind of paranoid that it doesn't airdrop right. So I'm just weird about that. So I just copy and paste, and then it just goes back to my laptop. I can airdrop it, but then you've got airdrop mess. You know, you got to clean up the airdrop mess. And airdrop is like, it'll go from the phone to the actual laptop, almost like magic, just like casting a spell. Bam, it just goes right from the phone, and then appears on the laptop. That's an airdrop. It is a powerful tool for writers, and writers are going to be using this in the future. It is very powerful. It's going to speed up the process for the writer. And those writers that use that kind of stuff, they're going to be pretty colorful, and they're going to have a lot of detail. Because I can work on this mobily if I wanted to. I'm not going to work on it now because I'm dropping off a pizza. But I could be sitting on the couch, laying back with my phone and going, okay, I got to edit this, blah, 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 blah. This is about perfect. Airdrop it right into my PC. Well, actually, it's not a PC. It's a laptop. And then I have a version of it that I can just cut and paste and put into the actual novel version, which is like the, you know, version that would be on Notes. I'm only using Notes and Facebook. Now I'm using Facebook as a middleman. I feel like something went on right there. Hang on, just give me a second. Facebook's a middleman. I'm just using it to like land there, so then I can copy paste, and you don't have to touch it once. I feel like Facebook was invented for this very purpose. I just feel like it was. You can put it on Facebook. It's on Facebook. You just touch it once with your thumb. It turns blue. Bam. Copy paste. It goes right onto another program like Notes or whatever. It's very, very quick. So if you make a change or whatever, bam, you can get that to 2 different areas, you know, like a laptop or back to the phone very quickly. And this is just helping me. This is, I think of David Foster Wallace, the 3 thing that he used. Now, of course, he wrote it by hand, which I take my hat off. But my hand, this hand right here is broken. Listen to this. It gets painful after a while. It'll start cramping after writing. So what I do, it's all typing. So it starts usually with laptop, Let me just go straight this way. Then it goes to Facebook. Then it goes from Facebook to phone, and then it can go back. It can go from phone to Facebook, and then Facebook to laptop, and I copy paste. Every once in a while on a blue moon, I'll airdrop. But I can't really think of the reason why right now. It usually has to do with maybe just like, maybe I'm just wanting to just airdrop that really quick to the laptop. I don't really know why I did it in the first place. I think I did it one time I was working on a long monologue. I airdropped it because it was like a big bulk of stuff and I wanted to get it there really quick. I don't know, I'll work on it later. Probably what I'll do is I'll work on it. Probably tonight I'll do an update. These are really nice. Supposedly someone said they were paying $9 or $1,100 for an efficiency. They're really, really nice. I just wanted to kind of make a correction, not a correction note, but just to be a little more finite on my talking about Facebook. When I mean you touch on it, it turns blue. That probably is a better description of what I just said. Like, I use my thumb to do it, you know, so like I'm just looking at the text that's been recently posted and I touch on it. My thumb doesn't turn blue, but the screen turns blue because it highlights everything. That's what I like about it. You know, like when you copy and paste something, you copy and paste it and then you have to drag it down. You don't even have to do that on the Facebook thing. I don't know if Zuckerberg came up with this or the Facebook team, but it's actually brilliant because everything on that post is copied because it turns blue. That's what I was saying, not my thumb doesn't turn blue. I'm saying, now Shep's thumb might turn blue. Hey, there we go. Shep's thumb might turn blue when he's been trapped, under the, now I thought about like what the damages are going to be done to Shep Dwight East as he's trapped under, the avalanche. And when I say rabbit hole in it, that's what the dog did. That's what the dog dug. I guess that's the more MLA grammatically correct word to use. The dog dug. The dog digs like when the first avalanche hit, it only covered him 20 feet, which is a lot. That's a lot. That's like about as high as that red light camera right there, right? That's a whole lot of snow. That's enough to kill you. And it would have killed him, but the dog digs to him. Like, it's just like a nearly borderline supernatural. You know, like the scene in Kill Bill. I always use Quentin Tarantino as an example, even though I kind of mouthed off to him. Sorry about that, Quentin. You know how writers are, they're bitter. But you know how like in Kill Bill, when she's underneath, I think it's Kill Bill 1 or Kill Bill 2. I think it might be Kill Bill 2. But anyway, regardless if it's Kill Bill 1 or Kill Bill 2, because that's supposed to be one movie anyway. Uma Thurman's character is under like a ton of dirt, and she's punching, the coffin lid that Madsen puts her in. Okay, I'll get to the characters' names later. The Bride, yeah, her name is the Bride. So she finally like gets through there, and then she like climbs up, like vertically, like very kung fu film, all the way up, which I like that scene. And she climbs like supernaturally, like very quickly to the top surface. This is in reverse, but with the dog. So if I get to direct it, I'm gonna quote that, Kill Bill sequence, but in reverse, and not with a lady, but with Shep Dwight East underneath, and the dog going downward very, very quickly. Now, can a dog dig that quick? I don't know. Hey, dogs get adrenaline just as much as people. And also another thing I want to make a slight note. This is like a footnote right here. When I said implanting the dog, I only mean that chapter on chapter 54. Because that chapter, I didn't mention the dog at all. So I was thinking about it the other day because I was actually, I'm promoting a movie too. I just saw, it's a 2015 documentary called The Big Lonely. It's very good. It's about a guy named Michael Nims. He did have a website. The website's no longer there, but it's an amazing documentary. It's very good. I was blown away. And I don't, I find these little stills, they're like my little personal criterion closet that I call, the YouTube closet, which That's what the poor man gets to do. I don't get to go to the Criterion Collection, but I would if I had the extra money to watch it. Unfortunately, I don't. So I have to like search things out on YouTube. It's the poor man's Criterion Closet, but it's a documentary, and it's called The Big Lonely. And boy, let me tell you, I was like, man, I'm glad it's a yellow light. I'm glad I found this because there's a lot of snow in it. He's got a dog that looks almost kind of like a German Shepherd. It's a husky dog named Tick. But the character's name is Michael. It's his real name. It's a real subject. He makes a great subject, very dramatic. It's very to the heart, to the bone, about a guy that loses everything, has to go out in the wilderness and live. A couple of these characters in the book, and Rib, Dog Night Out, Shepherds of Alaska, they do have to do that. Like, Droopy's found in a trash can, so is Poopy. They're both found in a big dumpster. Not a trash can, it's like a dumpster. It's a huge dumpster, almost like, but it's found on private property, or they're found on private property. So, the authority figures, I'm not going to call them pigs in this anymore, but anyway, they can't get to them. So they're protected. This could be a revolutionary story. I always think of like Gone with the Wind and stuff because of Margaret Mitchell. It's definitely not Gone with the Wind, but it's like a modern day kind of, I don't know, she was political with Gone with the Wind. Gone with the Wind was a big film. It was a big, like, people were lined up to see it. It made a big, a big impression. Although Margaret Mitchell was not a filmmaker, but she kind of was because she wrote all the words, the dialogue for it. So she was part of the filmmaking process, but she didn't get to, she didn't get to direct it. Like if Anne Rice gets to direct a movie, which I'm sure she probably has by now. I'm not for sure on Anne Rice. But Anne Rice did not get to direct Interview with a Vampire, and if she did, it probably would have been a pretty interesting film. A lot of times, I don't know if they asked the novelist, like James Patterson. Now Paul Auster, how he got a hold of the cameras, I think he bought his own film crew and just did his own thing. And I think Smoke is brilliant because I really do think Smoke is brilliant. And I do think it's just as good as any Quentin Tarantino's film. Paul Auster is an amazing writer, but he was a novelist that got a hold of the camera and was actually given permission, or at least to a certain extent, to work with like Harvey Keitel and William Hurt and make this incredible movie from the point of view of a novelist. So that was groundbreaking. That was a big thing that went on in the 90s, and it always influenced me because I was like, I can always hang on to these ideas to write a book and still have the dream of the filmmaker. There's a photographer over there. It's like a magnet. But those things can collide. Words, let me tell you something, and never doubt this. Words are very, very powerful. And what Quentin Tarantino was saying today about how, the filmmaking process of the acting and all that stuff, how it can completely be like a mask that you put on and you're completely transported. I think it can happen with the writer, with a novel, if the novelist is allowed to go that far. It can happen. But he's probably right. It doesn't happen at the typewriter, probably. Not like it would, under the lights and stuff. But you never know what an actor really is feeling. Yeah, because sometimes they fake all that stuff. It's a pizza delivery. Appreciate you.